You're dialed in to Byron Velvick's Fish Tales. Real talk, real tactics, and the stories that make it all worthwhile. Byron Velvick's Fish Tales is brought to you by Livingston Lures, Trika Fishing, Mercury Outboards, and Camus Boats. Without further ado, here's Byron.
Hey, Byron Velvick with Fish Tales, a very cool special guest. Man, a dear friend of mine. Look, I'm taking the glasses off. Makes me look younger. There you go. Now I can't see anything. Now I just see the fuzz that is my guest. But Byron Velvick Fish Tales, and this guy and I go all the way back to the beginning of our venture in outdoor programming. Mark Zona, Jay Kumar, they were the faces, the mouths, the personalities behind Loudmouth Bass. And now Jay Kumar is the man behind BassBlaster. So without further ado, I've already introduced him. I know it's in the title. I got the thumbnail, all the other stuff. Jay Kumar's in the house.
What's up, Byron?
Fish Tales, Jay. You're on Fish Tales, my friend.
I know, dude, listen, I was thinking you have your own theme song. You need your own theme song. So, like, we could do YMCA like President Trump, but it's fun to talk to the Byron.
Oh, I don't know, man. When you see it, you'll see the introduction. It's a little more rocky than that. What everybody just saw on the show is it's like, you're dialed into Fish Tales. A little Lincoln Park sounding thing going on. But Jay, what is up, man? I mean, you and I go way back, and I got to tell everybody listening and watching this on YouTube that it all started with Bass Center for me, Loudmouth Bass for you, and we all came together when ESPN decided that they wanted to do outdoor programming, and they wanted to have the Saturday morning block, and booyah, there's Jay and Zona having an amazing show called Loudmouth Bass, and me and John Kernan doing Bass Center. Do you remember those? Charlotte, North Carolina, I teased it. You remember flying into Charlotte every weekend, right?
Yeah, man, it was... Here's what, well, first of all, we knew each other before that. You're fishing a tour, I'm doing Bassmaster, and then Bass Fan. Like, we definitely knew each other before that. But then when we got there, here's how that went down for me, Byron. They called me and they said, Jay, we want you to try out for this show, Bass Center. And I'm like, okay, you know, what is that, this, that, and the other thing? And I absolutely did not want to do it. I was busy with Bass Fan, you know, running on fumes there. And everybody I know is like, all right, man, you got to do it. Come on, ESPN, have fun, whatever. So I do the tryout and they're like, okay, we like you, but we don't want you to be on Bass Center anymore. We got Byron Velvick. Instead, you're going to be put on the bench with this guy, Mark Zona, who turned out to be a absolute monster TV guy, as we all know now. But that was my first thing. So you bumped me, which is,
you know, it's funny because it was right after The Bachelor. It was that fall, the fall before this all happened. The season of The Bachelor ran. Of course, ESPN, ABC, all part of Disney. So it's part of the Mickey Mouse Club, you know, in the Disney production world. And so Disney owns everything. Disney owns ABC and ESPN. And so I start getting calls in the middle of the craziness that was The Bachelor, Jay. Like I'm going to Good Morning America, Regis and Kelly. I'm doing The View. I'm doing Jimmy Kimmel show. And in the middle, there's this guy named Dan Bowen. If you remember Dan Bowen, our executive producer,
oh, yeah.
He's flying out to meet me in New York and LA. And he's like, dude, we got a fishing show we want you to do. And I'm like, oh, sign me up. Like, I don't want to stay in this crazy world of Bachelor Hollywood weirdness, man. So I remember, you know, you and I did know each other all before that, just as media and fishing. And suddenly we start bumping into each other at the studio. Zona was just on the show. And we just had Zona on 2 episodes ago. And we talked about how I never even met Zona, but I talked to him on the phone all the time. And did you know Zona before? Had you met Zona before Loudmouth Bass, or did you guys just come together right there on the spot?
I don't know if I actually met him, but I talked to him many times because when I had Bass Fan, first we were just covering the tours, you know, the Bassmaster Tour and the FLW Tour. I almost said the Elites.
Yeah.
And then I started covering the Opens, and Zona would fish the Opens and whatever the other thing was on the other side. I don't remember if it was Toyota or Everstart or whatever, you know.
Yep.
And so I talked to him all the time, like literally, I don't know, not once a week, but every 2 weeks, and then it'd be like multiple times during that tournament. And so we kind of knew each other, but we definitely he'd never been on TV before. I'd never been on TV before. You were
Yeah.
the only one. You and John were the only ones who ever been on TV before.
Well, John
So,
Kernan, he was Mr. NASCAR. He was the face of NASCAR, the voice of NASCAR. So he was all about racing, but he was great at television. Like John Kernan was the man that read the teleprompter perfectly and had Jerry Goodman, the producer, in his ear, counting him down. It was like awesome to watch John Kernan, because he's a professional television guy. So as that teleprompter's rolling, he's just looking right into the camera and reading. I couldn't do that, dude. I couldn't read a teleprompter and have John Kernan talking in my
right.
ear and still look natural like he could, like Kernan could. But crazy thing about Zona that you mentioned, like you, I just knew his voice. And then he sounded like Magnum PI in Michigan, like the Marlboro Man. Hey, Byron, I'm selling Ranger boats and I'm headed to the country club to sip on a Long Island iced tea. I got the sweater around my neck and the top down. I'm like, I'm picturing Magnum PI is selling boats in Michigan. And I don't know about
That's
you.
funny.
Wasn't it weird? Because you hear his voice on the phone, but you never knew what he looked like until he walked into our studios.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know what to expect at all, but I'll tell you this, dude. I've told this story to his wife many times, or not many times, but other people many times, is Zona from the first day. You were mentioning how John knew TV and all that.
Yeah.
Zona didn't know, but you know how the camera would turn green and you had to turn, the light would turn green, you had to turn that way. So like your peripheral is working, or at least mine was. And Zona would turn as if he knew in advance that's where the shot was going to be every
Wow.
single time. And I was like, how is he doing that? Like I would ask, like, how are you doing? He's like, I don't know, and he was a natural from the get-go. His projection and his goofy sense of humor wasn't fully on display back then as it is now, but he was just made for TV, dude.
I remember. See that's funny you said that, Jay, because I remember we were there, and the Zona we knew early on was not the Zona now. That personality that exploded. I mean, there was like a real stable. There was a real toned down version of Zona on Loudmouth Bass, and just walking around the studio, it was like he was still kind of feeling out like where he was going to land. With regards to it, but dude, you were great on it. Like you took right to it with Loudmouth Bass, and you killed it. I thought you did a fantastic job every time I watched the show. Like you were a natural
Dude,
too.
oh, listen, I appreciate that, Byron, but it's professional TV guy John, the Bachelor, Mark Zona. I'm definitely last. I'm last on that list. And I
Dude,
was just trying to keep I was trying to be Zona's straight man. That's what I was doing. We have the
yeah.
same sense of humor in a lot of ways, and you do too. I don't know, it's because we're all fishermen or whatever, but only one person could be that way. And I wasn't about to try and, keep up with them. So I was trying to let him be him more and me kind of be the straight news guy, if you will.
Zona naturally fell into it. I had zero camera time until The Bachelor. Like I rarely
Yeah.
would they ever stick a camera in my face. I might get a quick interview, a sponsorship endorsement, little moment, but it wasn't like Bassmaster was following me around with a camera unless I made a final day cut or was doing really well in a tournament. I was not getting any airtime at all. So when The Bachelor happened, I went from zero to like the full immersion. Like they teach you about learn a foreign language, go to a foreign country and do the full immersion. My full
Yeah.
immersion was having a camera on me for 15 hours a day with an audio pack, and they just kept changing out my batteries. But everything I did for that month that it took to shoot the show was everything was on camera. So you had to get used to having a camera in your face. It's like coming off of The Bachelor, the camera was just part of everyday life with that thing just staring at you, right there like that the whole time. And you don't have a chance to be nervous because the only time you don't have a camera is when you go to the bathroom, basically, and sleep.
Wow, that's weird, man. I mean, God bless you for doing that, but that is tough.
So
Uh,
right now you're killing it with BassBlaster, and Livingston is thrilled about it. Like you did a story on Eric from Livingston, which is really cool, and they're excited about your numbers are blowing up, and dude, you've got something really special working right now with BassBlaster, my friend.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, Byron, like I've done all media, like you probably have. I did print and TV and whatever else there was, a website, a blog, and I'm a Christian guy, as you know, and the Lord put on my heart doing email, and I did not want to do it. Did not want to do it. And fast forward, I did it, and he blessed it, and we got a walleye email that's even bigger, and a new crappie email, and then we do all this video because some people just suck down shorts. That's all they want to do.
So
So
explain to the people that don't know, because I know a lot of people watching are fans and they know you well, but explain to the people that don't exactly how it is. What's the format? What was the inspiration? You said the Lord, put that message in your ear, but so I know it. There's this it's diluted. There's a million podcasts. Thank you. I'm one of the million. There's a million YouTube channels. There's a million Randy Blockett kind of guys that are out there doing stuff, and everybody's got these niches, and the social media world is so diluted. How do you, and what was it that made you kind of find that niche? And explain to the viewers that are listening and watching right now what BassBlaster basically is.
yeah, so it started out as one thing, right? It was started out as a daily email about bass fishing. Like, so you wouldn't have to go to this forum and these 10 YouTube channels and these 5 different, or 50 different Instagram accounts. I would just find the stuff that I thought was the juice and the news and put it out there. And eventually, I figured out 5 was too many, 4 was too many, and basically twice a week is how people wanted it. So every Tuesday and Thursday it's come out. It's come out for like 15 years or something now. I don't even
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And what it is exactly that. Like, I'm a bass fisherman, or it's a joke when you're in the industry, right, Byron? Like, once you're in the
Right.
industry, you don't fish as much, but I'm a bass
True.
fisherman. So I put all the stuff in there that I think is cool. And I ask guys like you all the questions I want to ask, what I think would be interesting. And then plus I have this, since probably almost 30 years of experience in the bass fishing business. So I have all this context that I can look at things with and give around these things that get announced or talked about or not talked about. So that's what it is. It goes out to like 150,000 guys, and then
Wow.
our video. Yeah. I mean, and to answer your question, how do you get heard above the noise? I don't really know. I mean, all I've done is follow my nose like you and a lot of people, but, I will say this, like, I did want to be in after Bass Fan, and I sold Bass Fan and all that. What
Right.
I saw was, and I launched Bass Fan, dude. I had to second mortgage my house twice to build the website, the back end, which you can do for
Really?
free now. Yeah. Oh
No
yeah. It
way.
didn't
You did.
exist.
No
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
You had to put
So
in a bunch of money to start Bass Fan. Like, you just couldn't go build a website and knock it right out. You had to put
no.
a bunch of money into making that happen because it was so young and so new.
Yeah. I mean, not even everybody not had the internet, like a lot of bass fishermen didn't even have it yet.
Right.
So anyway, after that, and I sold it, and then I had this non-compete, and I saw that there were a lot more bass fans coming out. And I was like, okay, well, when I come back, I can't do the same thing everybody else is doing or whatever, copy myself or however you want to say that. And then I wanted to be on this thing. Like, I didn't want you to have a browser and go here and go there and do that. Like, I wanted it to come to you. And, social media, as you know, is you don't see like, if I follow you, Byron, I don't see everything you post because they
Right.
don't show it to me.
Right. Right.
So here I'm pushing it out to them, and they just receive it, and they can consume it whenever or read it, whatever, watch it whenever they want.
Do you have,
That's
are
how
there
it works.
subscribers? I mean, you said 150,000, so you're putting it out there, and do you have subscribers for it, or what does that look like as far as how you can gauge how big your audience is even?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, they all subscribe to it, and it's free. I'm not making anybody pay for anything. I've never done, Bass Fan was free. I mean, it's free. Like, why would I pay somebody for that or ask them to
Right.
pay for that? So, yeah, I mean, they all subscribe. We send it out with constant contact. They have the list, so it's not like it's nothing fishy or weird or sketchy about it.
You said something important. Like, you and I have both been in this 30 plus years. We go way back. And like you said, even before we ever did outdoor programming. So we have access. I know which questions to ask, and we know who to talk to. I pick up the phone and ask Bill Dance to be on Fishtails, and he's like, "Absolutely, Byron." And that's a shock to me as a kid. I pinch myself when I have the opportunity to get Mercer and you and Zona and Skeet and Scott Martin and now Bill Dance and everybody else. You're like, this is really cool that our history, like you with Bass Fan being in the sport, it makes it so easy for what you do now. You have your finger on the pulse of exactly what people want to hear, what people want to listen to. And when you put it out there, it resonates with all of us that are in the sport with you.
Well, I appreciate that, man. But again, I don't really care what anybody else is doing, like in media. I just do what I do, and
Yeah.
and people either like it or they don't like it. I mean, so far they like it. Look, everybody at Byron's office and my attic access versus his. I
You're
gotta
not
get
doing a
something back here.
podcast. That's the Fishtails pinball machine back there. The show's called Fishtails because that pinball machine was given to me when I won my second U.S. Open. We had a sports agent at
Really?
the time. Yeah, me and Aaron, Skeet, John Murray, Robert Lee, a bunch of us out west had Donna Casase as our sports agent. And when I won my second U.S. Open, I had gone back to Lake of the Ozarks and we were fishing a tournament at Lake of the Ozarks. And that pinball machine was in a bar, restaurant called Fishtails. And I'm like, I came back to Nevada and I said, man, I saw the coolest pinball machine in Missouri and it's called Fishtails. Aaron Martins, for the longest time, he always hung out at the house. Aaron had most of the high scores on this thing, which was really cool. But Aaron would stay at the house, Skeet, Murray, all of us were at the Money House at Lake Mead. So this whole studio, all the trophies and everything like that, everything has sentimental, thing. But most importantly, it's I wish the scores had not erased when I moved to Texas, but for the longest time, Aaron Martins was the king of that pinball machine, in memory of an amazing friend of mine and a great guy. But this was something I had to do because my daughter's in school every day and I get to talk to you while my daughter's in school. I know at like 2:00, you turn into a pumpkin. I become a dad again, but right now I get to hang out and talk to Jay. And it's like, I see you at ICAST. I see you at the Classic, but now I get a full hour with you in my extra bedroom at the house. Are you
That's
fishing
awesome,
anymore?
man.
Are you still fishing?
If I answered honestly, I would say barely. I don't want to answer honestly. I mean, we moved to Texas a year ago. And my boat has not been in the water one time, dude. I'm
No
ashamed. Now I've hit a few
way.
golf course ponds and whatever, but I'm so bummed, man.
Yeah, I'm like, you're in Texas now, man. There's water and fish everywhere, and you're up by Dallas, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, like I used to go out to Jersey. It was a joke. I called it Dead Sea 1 and Dead Sea 2 by my house, and literally, like a good day for anybody on that lake is like 2 bites in 4 hours. Bites, not landed fish. Like, it is so bad there, and I'm like, the worst lake in Texas is gonna be 1,000 times better than that, so, I'm just between moving and kids in college and this and that, I've just been and work, I got a
Wait, don't
million
forget
excuses, Byron, but
Don't
no
forget
fish.
dogs. When I called you to do the show, I think you were trying to keep 2 dogs from procreating. You were battling dogs when I called you. You're like, "I got dogs
I
jumping
know.
around. I can't talk to you right
Yeah,
now. I
dude,
got
we got
one dog going after another dog in heat." I'm like, "Okay, go, Jay, go take care of your dogs, your kids, your house, your world."
I got one
Oh my
dog lying here on the couch and another dog wearing a doggy diaper somewhere else, so we're we're good right
I
now,
got 2
man.
dogs right out there, my daughter's dogs, and I'm like, "Oh my god." So I'm doing all my research, and I found out something which I literally have an affinity for along with you. I gotta ask about it, and I think you have more experiences with me. Dude, tell me about Bigfoot or Sasquatch because I have been crazy about this forever, and I find out that we have a shared interest in the whole lore of
Really?
Bigfoot and Dude, I couldn't believe it when I was Googling. I'm like, whoa, you wrote a book about it, and I need to read the book, Jay. What the heck?
Oh,
How
I'll
did I
send it
not
to
know
you.
this? Please send me it, but tell me, I don't want to front load it. Tell me your personal experience, and I don't even have one close to it, but you got to fill me in, bro. You got to fill me in.
Yeah, so, I will start at way back when I was a kid. There was, like do you remember these shows on TV, Byron? It was like Monster Show, and it would be like the Abominable Snowman, Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, and they'd
Yep.
cover them
I
all.
love
Remember those?
those. Loved them.
Right,
Loved
right.
them.
So What was weird, dude, looking back, is the only one that spooked me was Bigfoot, and I don't know why. Like, I don't know why it did. And I mean, I lived in suburban New Jersey. Like, I'm not seeing Bigfoot there. You know what I mean? So, anyway, fast forward to when I was, I think, 22 years old. I have couple much younger siblings, 14 and 15 years younger than me. So I was done with college. I told my parents, I'm going to take them camping for one night because we used to, love to be outdoors. I would take them fishing and everything. And my parents, understandably were a little nervous that I was taking these two little kids. And I said, listen, one night, and we went to this place called High Point State Park in New Jersey, which is the highest point in New Jersey, which isn't very high, like 2,000 feet in the Appalachians. And there are these little ponds there that were full of bass like this long, they're all stunted. So we're fishing and catching fish and whatever. And we pull into the camping area that evening, right? In the camping area, the way I remembered it in my mind, and then I went years later to confirm this, just to make sure I was right in the head. It's like a straight line, and then coming out of the straight line was like this basin, right? Here's the road, and then you go around this lake, this pond, basically, big pond, and then around the road that goes around the pond is like this, kind of like not cliffs, but hills, steep hills that go
Uh-huh.
up all around it. So it's kind of like a canyon, but it's enclosed,
Yeah.
So everybody was camping right where you drive in. I'm like, we're not doing that. We're going all the way around there to be away from everybody. So we did that, set up the tent, made the fire, the whole thing. And and by the way, I forgot all about this until years later, and I'll tell you how that happened. But right at about dusk, we're sitting by the fire, and directly across the pond and up the hill, way up the hill, was the longest, loudest howl I've ever heard in my life, right? Like, you couldn't miss it. And it was super loud, but also the thing that was even more impressive was how long it went, because you'd have to have giant lungs to do that, to have that much
Mm.
air to do that. So
Wow.
people asked me later, what did it sound like? And I was like, well, if you took like a 6'8" lineman from the NFL and gave him like 5 times the lung capacity and a PA system and stuck him up on that hill, it might sound like that. Like, that's the only thing I could
Wow.
come up with. Yeah,
Wow.
so my little siblings were like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "It's a moose." And I knew it wasn't a moose, but I had no idea. And this is way before the internet and cable TV and all these Bigfoot shows. Like, that wasn't even on my mind. It wasn't even a thought. And plus, it's not California. Like, for all anybody knew, only the Bigfoots were only in California.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So anyway, got dark. We're still at the fire, pitch black out. Now to the left, closer to us, up on that hill, same exact sound and duration. Same
Oh
question for my
gosh.
siblings. Same answer. It's a moose. Don't think anything of it. Why would we? Go to sleep, right? It's raining. We're in the tent in the middle of the night. I have no idea what time. There were no phones, or wasn't wearing a watch. Right up, like where we parked our Jeep Cherokee, old Jeep Cherokee. So we were camped, and then you had a little path up to the road where we parked, a little parking area off the road, I guess. Right, it sounded like right there, right, there was the same exact howl, right? Except it was so much closer that if you were right here, Byron, and I was screaming as loud as I could, you couldn't hear what I was saying. That's how loud it was. Like,
Oh my
and
gosh.
I know that. Yeah, I can
Oh.
remember my little sister saying something to me, and I couldn't hear her until it was over. Now, I didn't
Oh.
think anything of it, and that's too bad because it was raining, and if that thing was on the road, I'm sure there were some awesome tracks there. So anyway, forgot all about it. Never thought of it again, never had a Bigfoot association until years later on the internet. I clicked this button to listen to, and I'm getting chills right now, to listen to a supposed Bigfoot howl from Washington State. And it was the exact same sound, and every hair stood up.
Oh,
And I called my
no.
siblings who were in high school. They were in high school at the time, and I said, "Go listen to this." And my brother, who was playing soccer for the high school team, was so freaked out he wouldn't even take a leak in the woods the rest of that season, because then he remembered, we remembered. And so I ended up writing this novel about it before Bass Fan, because I thought I wanted to be a novelist. And then, you know, the name of my official company is Sasquatch Media. Like, I don't know, it just sunk
What's
into
the
me,
name of what's the
Byron.
name of the
That's what.
book? You gotta send. I'm gonna give you my address. I'm gonna text it to you. What's the name of the book? Because I gotta read this now. I am so in on
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. It's called Dark Woods. It's been out of print a long time. I have a few copies. I owe somebody a copy, actually. I'll send you one too. And it was actually one production company in Hollywood called me. They wanted to option it. And I was doing the show at the time with, you know, you and Zona and everybody else. I didn't have time to focus on it and didn't do it. But
So I was all into that, like the Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot and UFOs, like that show you talked about, Unsolved Mysteries. I had a UFO experience in
yes.
Nevada, so I had a UFO experience that was crazy because I saw it with my own eyes in Nevada. And then on the TV show, they aired it as one of the unsolved mysteries, and they captured the lights in Phoenix. And they said earlier that same evening, but hundreds of people saw it in Nevada. Well, I was one of those hundreds of people on the outside between Boulder City and Las Vegas. I saw the series of lights dancing around, and it was one of those things where they were doing things your mind. It was not McCarran Airport. It was not in the landing pattern. It was off to the very far west of the valley, and the lights were zipping around. And so I had that experience. But for Bigfoot, my mom took me camping. We went all the way to Michigan to visit our family. Then we camped all the way across Canada and down Washington into Oregon. And I was looking for Bigfoot every step of the way because I didn't get to hear him. I didn't get to see it. I didn't get to hear it. But I was like, I just was so into the fact that I knew I was in Bigfoot country. Like from what you said, I knew I was in Washington and Oregon and Canada, and we're camping all the way. It took the whole summer. My mom was a single mom, drove to Michigan, visits the family in the summer, and then it's all the way across the Canadian border, all the way down the Pacific coast, and camping the whole way. Campers, 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 bears jumping all over the camper. No experience like what you experienced, but I was dying to hear what you heard and what you experienced, because that gives me chills just hearing your story about it. That's crazy.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, it is what we heard is no known animal. And if you watch any Bigfoot show now where they make the howls to try and get a response, I mean, that's what they're mimicking, the same thing that we heard. And the
Has there
question
been
is,
any
what are these
sightings?
things?
Have there been any sightings at all in that area, like in the last? So have people since then on the internet and all that? Have you followed the area and said, yeah, there is actually some activity in the area you were camping at?
Yeah, yeah. It's High Point State Park. They've seen him there, and or allegedly seen him there. And you know, it's in the Appalachians, right? And
Right,
people
right.
theorize that, you know, that's where these things
They move
try and
up and
stay
down.
away from people at these high. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, like migrate or whatever stuff.
So when we go,
Yeah.
I took my daughter skiing in Colorado, and we go up. We went up to some of the high points in Colorado, and they actually have Bigfoot crossing signs. You know, that's pretty cool too. Watch out for Bigfoot instead of moose. They literally all through the state parks up there in Colorado. They have and I'm going to put one online here. I'm going to add one to this show so the viewers can see it. But it's beware of Bigfoot. Watch out for Bigfoot. And I'm like, that's awesome that they're actually putting signs out on the road that you're in Bigfoot country in Colorado, and you need to watch out because there's enough sightings that they have the signs out.
Have you heard of the missing 911 guy? Do you know that guy?
No.
You know, a few guys in bass fishing told me about this, and I'm I'm sort of sorry I told you, because once you know, it changes things. But this guy, whose name escapes me right now, anyway, he was a former police detective. I think he had retired, And through some chance meeting with some national parks police, they said, hey, you got to look into disappearances in national parks. And so he did. He started doing it, and he found out that national parks will not report missing persons, which is the only law enforcement agency to do that. And he's tried to get to the bottom of stuff and gotten fought by the National Park Service. And so he's over decades now, he's like mapped where these things have happened and come up with patterns about how people disappear. And he won't say what it is, Bigfoot, aliens, whatever it is. But the thing that gets me is he will not go into any park, state park, national park, without a sidearm, no matter what, whether it's allowed or not. And he will not go alone anymore. And this is a grown man who knows his way around the woods. He knows his, way around firearms. So and he's mapped these things like on a map of the United States, and it is freaky, Byron. I'm telling you,
I
dude.
had no
and some
idea
of the
that.
stories.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty weird, isn't it? Like it definitely pops the conspiracy theory button up. Like, why in the heck would the government conceal this? But anyway, just that's just like whenever I tell people, or whenever somebody's like, hey, I'm going to this and that park, I'm like, listen, don't hike alone, stay on the trail, and don't be out like past dark or whatever. Just be smart, you know what I mean? Because there was enough weird stuff. And I don't know what it is. You don't know what it is. If this guy doesn't know what it is, who does? It's just weird. But anyway, go ahead.
You couldn't pay me to do that. And I hear stories about these lone hikers. I just read one on the line the other day on the internet about a woman that crossed, ran the whole Continental Divide or the whole Appalachian Trail, started down in Mexico and all the way up to Canada. I mean, camping their way all the way along that. Dude, there's no way. There's no way I'm going to get up there on top of that mountain range and just start going and camping and going and camping. Could you imagine? For me, I think that would scare the heck out of me for the unknown, the what if you will. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, especially a woman, there's all kinds of psycho dudes up there too. And, potentially like, come on, man, forget about monsters. They're just weirdos,
Well, to reel it back into fishing, because I got a segment, I got to tell you, there's a segment that I have that every single guest has been posed with. I didn't let you know about it in advance because it's going to be a thought provoker. But do you remember? It's called The One That Got Away, and it's on Fishtails. It's a cool segment called The One That Got Away. I play a little skip of Jim Bitter losing that fish in the classic that cost him the Bassmaster Classic when he fumbled that little fish in front of Tim Tucker, and Tim's trying to get a picture of it. So you'll see that. But the one that got away doesn't need to be a fish. It could be a contract. It could be something to do with Bass Fan. It could be anything in your life, fishing related, not fishing related. I'll give you an example. Like Rick Clunn and found out about Teva sandals from a guy in the Colorado River that was a raft guide, and he had made these sandals with Velcro straps on them. And so Rick Clunn got some sandals with Velcro straps that don't come off in the mud called Tevas. He wished he had like literally gotten partnered with the guy in Colorado, the raft guy, because Tevas exploded. You remember the old Teva sandals, and everybody has a great story. But what is Jay Kumar's? And here I'm teasing it up, but what is the one that got away for Jay Kumar?
The memory still haunts him. He lost by 2 ounces.
The only thing that comes to mind, Byron, and I'm sure I have a list, it's not even a fish. I had a 1980 Gibson Les Paul Standard, and this amp that was like a Marshall. I don't know if you know anything about amps, but a Marshall amp not just on steroids. It was just better than a Marshall amp. And dude, it sounded exactly like in my head I wanted the tone to sound like. I've played guitar since I was like 13 years old. Like I played in bands and the whole thing. And then my son, who's now 23, he got into playing drums. So we would jam a lot when he was young. And this setup I had to sell because we were going through some hard financial times. It was after I sold Bass Fan, was right before the recession. So I had a non-compete, no job, and money running out during that recession that dragged on for like 5 to 7 years.
Yeah.
And I had this set up, and I'm like, oh man, I got to sell it. And ever since then, dude, I have been chasing that, and I have a version of the same amp. I have a version of the same guitar, but it
No.
doesn't sound the exact same. Like I can hear it, but it doesn't come out. You know what I mean?
Right.
And because I'm too old and too busy and whatever to play in band. I mean, I could play in bands, I guess, if I made the time to do it, but I'd rather fish, you know.
Right.
Uh, I don't like the only like joy of playing guitar now because I don't have time. Like I used to play 3 hours a day and figure out riffs all day and all that. I don't have time to do that. So the only part of it that I can really get into now is the tone. Like when I play a chord, it sounds like this, and I want to hear every note like a piano and all that. And so I've been chasing that ever since. And I think I'm sure I'm not alone. Like some people, the one that got away, they end up chasing it. Like even a bass, dude, one gets away and we're chasing that fish for the rest of our lives. You know what I mean?
Right.
Whether it's a 10-pounder or I caught it in a creek like this, off a dock like that with this bait. You know what I mean? There you go.
Wow, that's a good one. I had no idea that you were that much. I knew you liked to play guitar a little bit, but I had no idea you were. Were you in bands before? Did you actually play guitar in bands and get serious about it? Did you think you were gonna make a living playing guitar?
It was just cover bands. That's what I wanted to do. Like if you ask me from when I started playing like 13 to even like 22, still in college, if you want to do one thing in your life, like what would it be? And it would be like to play music, like to do that. But that just wasn't my road. I have a buddy of mine from high school. He got all the way, he was a drummer, maybe still is. He got all the way to LA. I think they got signed and then, they just didn't take off after that because we were from the rock era and that went through a bunch of different changes,
Right.
So if you weren't grunge, that's no good. If you're not mega or Metallica type stuff, that's no good. If you're not this and that. So I think they were like kind of doing the classic rock thing before it turned around and came back, which is kind of where it is now.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, no, I never got to the original music touring kind of thing. And I don't have that as a regret because, dude, I love fishing.
Have you always loved fishing? Even when you were 13 years old, you're into music and rock and bands and that. Were you into fishing at a very young age, like I was? I mean, I was into fishing as far back as I can remember. And when they did The Bachelor, they were laughing about it. They said, when your mom and dad sent pictures to us, you're in diapers standing next to bluefin tuna. And then there's like the pictures of you when you're 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and you're holding these fish. Like your mom, every picture she sent us had water, a fishing rod, and a fish attached to it. Was it the same for you? Were you into fishing from a young age all your life?
I was, yeah. Like my parents said the first time I caught a bluegill, my eyes were like as big as pie plates and then it was over. Like I would
Oh,
beg them to take me to ponds, ponds I couldn't bicycle to. I begged them to take me. I would fish. We lived across the street from a park that had a really little pond, and I would fish every day during the summer. We were catching like carp and goldfish, and we would make our own dough balls with our own recipes, because that's all we could fish for. And that they had to drive me to the bigger pond to fish for bass. And yeah, dude, I mean, anywhere we went, first, I had the Zebco, the black and white combo, push button Zebco.
yeah,
And then I was saved up, and I still remember seeing this little Daiwa ultralight in the store that I saved up for, bought. It was black and silver. And I used that until the tip broke. Like, man, it's like I always say, whatever you're really into, you can remember the best. And I can
yes,
remember every fish I caught, what the bait was, what color it was, where I was. You know what I
yep,
mean? I know you know
yep.
what I mean.
And you know what's funny? So you and I share. I was growing up in Southern California, Orange County, right next to the 405 freeway. I mean, we lived right next to the 405 freeway. There was not a lot of water unless it was an industrial park that, like office buildings, they had this lake there and they had a bunch of koi in there. And when you said make your own dough with your little garlic and all my little flavoring in there, I'd go catch these. They had these beautiful, expensive koi in this pond swimming around where there was the dentist office and lawyers' offices and all that. And we'd sneak in there, and they'd have this old security guard with all these chains and all these keys on. You could hear them coming a mile away. You'd hear the chingle, chingle, chingle of the. So you knew you had to run away from the sound of the keys, but you're catching these koi. And I'm out there fishing with these rods, and we got dough all over us. So anything that would tug, it's like you're saying, anything that would tug on your line and pull back was fair game. It didn't matter if it was a bluegill. For us, it was African claw frogs in the ditch. They had these frogs in this ditch that lived under the water that would eat your worm, and you pull these frogs out of the ditch or the koi at the industrial park or wherever I could ride my bike to get something to tug on my line and pull back.
Your frog story, that one pond that had bass in it, one time this kid taught me with these little poppers, these like wood, they're made out of wood, that you could just kind of whip out there with a bobber and jerk that popper across like the mat, and these frogs would blast them. So we ended up catching all the bullfrogs in this pond that were out there. Man. Who cares? Like, and then in high school, dude, I remember me and my buddies, we found this pond. It was an industrial park that had bass in it. And literally, it was so cliche for Jersey. There was like a washing machine sticking up out of the water. Half the pond had all this disgusting like foam on it that was like brown. And here we are fishing, catching bass out of the other side of the pond. It was like wherever you could get it done, that's where it happened,
So that's so funny because we had this park, the pond I told you about, they had the koi in it. My dad had taken me bass fishing as a kid. I love bass fishing, but I didn't know there were any bass in this pond at all. And all we knew is we loved fish, but we would go and we saw these koi and they would eat our dough balls. And I'll never forget this, Jay. We're sitting there fishing for koi with our dough balls, and this dude walks down on the other side of this pond and he starts throwing a spinnerbait. I'm like, hey, look at that guy. He's throwing a spinnerbait out there. And we're laughing. They go, he must think there's bass in this lake. He goes, or maybe he's just testing out a spinnerbait. And we're just steadily catching our koi. And all of a sudden I see him hook up and I see a bass go tail walking. I'm like, what in the heck? And he reels a bass in and he lets it go and he fires back up there and he hooks another bass. And me and my buddy turn to each other with our koi rods and our dough. We just wanted to throw all that in the water. We run home and get all our little fledgling bass gear. We come back and that guy showed us there was actually bass living in our industrial park koi pond. And you're like, oh my gosh, a dream come true. There's actually bass living in here with them. We've hit the coup de grace. We got the gold standard of it, living in an industrial park. And it's weird when you grow up in the suburbs, you'll do anything to fish, but there's not a lot of opportunities. And you must have the same passion I did, which is just anywhere there's water, go catch whatever's in there. And we've made, you and I were fortunate enough that we made a career out of our passion, which is really something special. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Fish Tales. Appreciate you checking us out. Also, check out the Livingston Lure app if you get a chance. All kinds of great information on there. And be sure to subscribe and to like Fish Tales. Back to the show. Jay, is there anything, you've been in the industry forever, and I know with BassBlaster and all that, you got your pulse on the sport. What things stand out to you that are probably things that need to happen or things that are missing in our sport right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me I learned over the years, Byron, that my thing is just to love bass fishing for where it's at, whether I think it has warts or you do or somebody else, sure it does. I mean, we all do. But I do think that the sport could benefit from a Ray Scott type personality in charge, where he's, I know you knew Ray too, but he's like this very strong-willed guy, listen to everybody, but ultimately it's this way or no way. And so it's like a continued one direction rather than like, oh, well, let's try this and let's do this and let's change that and let's do this, like he would have figured out that forward-facing sonar, for example, is just the leading edge of massive technological change. And so we're going to take this one step to mitigate all that because we're not going to trash, 50 years of history, and 50 years of knowledge and 50 years of techniques and thousands of companies that make things for those techniques, all that stuff,
Right.
So
Right.
I don't know. I mean, you can't. There is no other race god. I mean, he's one in a zillion. But
Yep.
someone like that, I think we could probably use.
Yep. Yep. And in the Hall of Fame, I've heard you say before that, gosh, one of the people that stand out to you that why is John Murray not John Murray? My ex roommate, John Murray. John Murray. Part of this, everything you see behind me, a lot of that is with around and when John Murray and I were friends. What your thoughts on putting my dear friend John Murray in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, I mean, Byron, you would know better than me. Am I mistaken in thinking that John was the pioneer for all you guys, the first guy to get up and come all the way out here to the southeast to fish? Wasn't it
Yep.
him?
Yep.
I mean, other than Gary Klein, I guess, or whatever.
Gary Klein, and he was dominant in the West. I mean, geez, what a guy! When I was a kid, he was winning tournaments before he had a driver's license. His mom would tow him to the tournament, drop him in the water, and he was winning. I mean, it wasn't pro-ams, pro tournaments before he had a driver's license because his mom would drop him in the lake. He would beat everybody in Arizona, and then he'd put the boat back on the trailer and drive home with a win under his belt with no driver's license. That's how dominant he was at 15, 16, 17. I jumped in the sport. We're the same age. And John was the guy. Like, you looked up to John. He had the Humminbird sponsorship. He drove the Humminbird van around. He was the king, man. He was literally the Skeet Reese drew him in a tournament as a kid. And Skeet had never been beat by a guy in the boat. And John said, well, you're going to get beat today, son. Soft-spoken John Murray tells Skeet Reese, today's your day to lose. And sure enough, John beat the pants off Skeet Reese, who had never been beat in the boat by anybody. And these are when they were kids, you're right. John Murray, Hall of Fame. Why not?
I mean, no brainer. And I guarantee you, and you know this, if we called Skeet right now, he would say absolutely. He was just put in the Hall of Fame for anybody who doesn't know.
Right.
And he would say absolutely John should be in there. Okay, yep. John didn't win a classic and Skeet did and all these other things. But in terms of pioneers, pioneers who are really, really good. He wasn't just a pioneer. He wasn't just some dude, like you were saying. Like, he is a stud, man. Stud fisherman.
And a
one of the
lifelong
best
stud.
ever.
Yes, to your point, and a lifelong stud. And I'm going to make a short out of this particular one and share this with John. But this, I'm with you. I would gladly go to the Hall of Fame and on the induction of John Murray. Well deserved. And Skeet would be the first person to say he needs to be in it. We all agree he needs to be in it. Rick Clunn would agree. Everybody knows the power that was John Murray in the sport. Now he's retired. He's mostly guiding. He's there in Tennessee. Moved Tennessee. He still comes out and fishes some of the opens at Lake Mead and all that, but I agree with you, man. So interesting point. In closing, Fishtails, is there anything else you want to share? Tell me a little bit more. How do people find BassBlaster? And I mean, obviously it's just BassBlaster.com, and anything else in the works before I say goodbye? Because we went the full hour and I got to go pick up my kid and you need to go off and do whatever Jay Kumar has to do.
Yeah, no, man. I just want to say thank you, Byron, man. It's such a great time. Every time I see you and chat with you, like, your enthusiasm has always stood out for you and like in this sport, and your positive attitude. And we need more Byron, man. Just keep bringing it.
Hey, thanks for being on Fishtails, and thank you for agreeing to come on. I mean, I knew after Zona, I'm like, I got to do Zona, I got to do Jay, I got to have my friends on. You're a natural. The guys at Livingston are like, gosh, we got to get Jay on the show. I'm like, oh God, don't need to ask me twice. I've been thinking about getting him on since I saw you at the last time I saw you was at ICAST, I think just a few months ago. So thanks for coming on. Best of luck with everything, and I'll say I hit my 2:00 window and we're done. And so, Jay, thank you so much, man. It's been an absolute pleasure, my friend.
Yeah, bless you, Byron.
Fishtails has been brought to you by Livingston Lures. Learn more at livingstonlures.com. Fishtails is also supported by these fine sponsors: Trika Fishing, Mercury Outboards, and Camus Boats.